Good evening, Algebra 2. Here is your quiz practice review key. Quiz will be tomorrow, and anything that is on this quiz review can and will most likely be on the actual quiz itself. Let's jump right into this and take a look at question number 1. It has 4 different parts in A, B, C, and D, in which we are going to need to factor completely. Make sure we always check first for a GCF. And after that, we'll make a determination on which one of our methods is the best to move forward. So part A is x squared plus 64. Anytime I see something with just 2 terms, I automatically start thinking about one of our special cases, either the difference of 2 perfect squares or the sum or difference of 2 perfect cubes. And as I take a look at this one, I see x cubed and 64, both of which are perfect cubes. If I think about the cube root of these two things, the cube root of x cubed is x, and the cube root of 64 is 4. And if you remember from our practice, we do the cube root of each one of the two things, and then I do this little trick that we remember as square multiply square. So square meaning I'm going to square the first thing that I found the cube root of x cubed to be x, and I'm going to square that. X times x is x squared. And multiply means I'm going to multiply the two things that I have there together. X times 4 is 4x. And square meaning I'll square the second part, and 4 squared is 16. In order to deal with the signs, I remember the acronym SOAP. SOAP, and that stands for same, opposite, and always positive. So my first sign must be the same. So in my problem it says x cubed plus 64, so my first sign is the same, it's a plus. Then it is opposite, so the opposite of a plus is a minus, and the last one is always positive. So that is the factorization of x cubed plus 64. Part B, 8x cubed. 8x cubed is also a perfect cube, as is 27. So 8x cubed. If I take the cube root of 8x cubed, I get 2x. And the cube root of 27 is 3. Now I will square, multiply, square. So square, 2x, if I square 2x, I would get 4x squared. Multiply the two things together. 2x times 3 is 6x. And square again, I will square the 3 this time, and 3 squared is 9. And again, the signs will follow my acronym SOAP, meaning same. The problem has 8x cubed minus 27, so same would be a minus. Opposite is going to be a plus, and AP is always positive. So the factorization of 8x cubed minus 27 is the quantity of 2x minus 3 times 4x squared plus 6x plus 9. Taking a look at C. C is a trinomial, so it's not going to be one of my special cases here. So I'm going to use the airplane method. A times C is the key. 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. And I think of things that would multiply to give me 30. So I have 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. And my middle term is negative, so my big numbers are all going to get a negative. And I'm looking for a pair that when I add them together add up to negative 13. And that is going to be, that is going to be my 2 and negative 15. 2 minus 15 is negative 13. So my airplane method, my quantities, we'll start out, it is 3x squared, so I'm going to start out with 3x in the front of both of them. And then I'll put my 2 terms that I got from my 8 when I did A times C as the key. I'll put my positive 2 and 1 And I'll put my negative 15 in the other. And remember, in the airplane method, I do need to check and see if they simplify at all. So if I were to try to simplify, 3x plus 2, it does not simplify. So that is one of my two factors. But 3x minus 15, both of these terms are both divisible by 3. So if I were to divide them by 3, I would end up with x and negative 5. So the factorization is 3x plus 2 and x minus 5. Letter D is two terms, so instantly I'm starting to think right away it's got to be one of my special cases. I do see a GCF here. I have a GCF of 2. So if I were to pull the 2 out, I would have x squared minus 9. And does x squared minus 9 factor? It absolutely does. And that is the difference of two perfect squares. So perfect squares factor as follows. The square root of the first thing, so the square root of x squared is x. And the square root of the second thing, the square root of 9 is 3. 1 gets a plus, 1 gets a minus. So the complete factorization is 2 times the quantity of x plus 3 times x minus 3. And that is question number 1. Now, question number 2. Question number 2 has quite a bit to it. Looks like there are A through G are things that I need to be trying to answer here. So let's take a look at A. It says state the standard form of h of x. So the standard form is I need to FOIL this thing together. I don't want any kind of factors out. I'll take the factors and I'll multiply everything together. So I'll FOIL this. X times x is x squared. And x times negative 2 is negative 2x. And 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And then I'll combine like terms. And I will end up with x squared. Negative 2x plus 4x is going to be 2x and minus 8. So there is my standard form of h of x. Part B says use the factored form. The factored form is what they gave me in the problem. It says use the factored form to find the zeros. So since it's already been factored, I can take each factor and set them equal to 0. So if x plus 4 were to equal 0, then x equals negative 4. So that's one answer. And if x minus 2 were to equal 0, x would equal positive 2. That's my second answer. Part C says find the maximum or minimum value of h of x using the formula x equals the opposite of b over 2a. Now this is only going to find, I need to find a maximum point. So I want you to understand I'm trying to find the coordinates of a point here, an x and a y. Now I have an equation to find x. And the x value is found by doing the opposite of b. Well, if we look back up here, right here is b. b is 2. So the opposite of b is going to be negative 2. And I'm going to divide that by 2a. Well, what is a? A is the number out in front of x squared. And we don't see a number there because it's an understood 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So my x value is negative 1. Now, how do I find the y value? You have two places you can go. You can take the factored form, h, and I'm going to plug negative 1 in for it. So I'm going to go way up here. If you take a look, up here, look at the arrow. Up here is where I'm going to plug in, right here. I'm going to plug a negative 1 in here. So let me just kind of put a negative 1 underneath both of those. So negative 1 plus 4 is 3. And negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. So my y value is 3 times negative 3, which is negative 9. My other option could have been to plug a negative 1 in to my answer in part A. I can plug in a negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. I'll show this one as well. Negative 1 squared is 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and minus 8. And if you were to grab your calculator and do 1 minus 2 minus 8, you end up with negative 9 as well. So either way, you can get to that negative 9. Part D says calculate the y-intercept of h of x and show all the work. So the y-intercept, if I think about the y-intercept, where a graph crosses y, that is nothing more than plugging 0 in for x. So I'm going to find h of 0. And I can do this the same way I just did c, but instead of plugging in negative 1, I'm going to plug in 0. So I'm going to go all the way back to my original again. And I'm going to plug in a 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. And 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So this point is 0, negative 8. That is the y-intercept. Part E says sketch the graph of h of x on the axis to the right. Use the important information found above. Okay. So I know I have two zeros. I have a 0 at negative 4, so I'll put a point right on the x-axis at negative 4. I also have a 0 at positive 2. So I'll put my other x-intercept at positive 2. I know that I have a maximum or minimum value at negative 1, negative 9. So negative 1, negative 9 is down here. And I also have a y-intercept of 0, negative 8. So 0, negative 8. It's right there. So using those 4 points and knowing that this thing is a quadratic, because it's raised to the second power, I know that this is a parabola. So since I know that I have a parabola and I know where the minimum is, I can just start at the minimum. Let's try this again. Start at the minimum. There it is. And back the other way. It'll look something like that. So in fact, part C is a minimum value. That is the lowest that that graph will go. Part F says classify the polynomial according to its degree and number of terms. Okay, so its degree is degree 2, which means we call that quadratic. And then I count how many terms. X squared plus 2x minus 8. There are 3 terms there, and something with 3 terms we call a trinomial. So that is a quadratic trinomial. And then part G says state the end behavior. And if you just take a look at the graph itself, the left side of the graph, the arrow points up. The right side of the graph, the arrow points up. So the end behavior is simply up, 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 up. And on tomorrow's quiz, that's exactly all you'll have to do. You can either say up, up, or just draw 2 up arrows, and I will know exactly what you mean there. So that is the front of page 1. That is questions 1 and 2. All right, question 3 says analyze the polynomial g of x equals x cubed minus 5x squared minus 14x. Part A wants us to write g of x in its factored form. So I guess the first thing I'll do is take a look at g of x, and I notice that there is a GCF. There's a GCF of x. So when I pull the x out, I'll have x squared minus 5x minus 14. And I'll take a look at that quadratic portion and ask myself, does that factor, are there 2 numbers that multiply to give me negative 14 and add to give me negative 5? And there absolutely are. So two numbers, they have to multiply to give me 14, and they have to subtract that, in essence, to give me -5. And 7 plus 2. -7 plus 2 equals -5, and -7 times 2 equals -14. So the factored form of g of x is x times x minus 7 times x plus 2. Part B says, using your work in A, find the zeros. So I'm going to take each of those three factors and set them all equal to 0. So x equals 0. That one's the easy one. X minus 7 equals 0. Add 7 to both sides, so x equals 7. It's one of my zeros. And x plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2 on both sides. And x equals -2. It's my third zero. I do have 3 zeros in that cubic. Part C says classify this polynomial according to its degree. So let's do the degree first. It is degree 3, so we call that cubic. C-U-B-I-C, cubic. And there are 3 terms, so again, it is a trinomial. So that is a cubic trinomial. Part D says sketch the end behavior of this polynomial. You may need to sketch a graph on your calculator if necessary. So as I put this into my calculator, you will see, you can type this right into your calculator, you will see the left side of it is pointing down, and the right side of it is pointing up. So it is down, up. Take a look at question 4. Question 4 says, given the following information, build an appropriate possible equation for a polynomial, quadratic, or polynomial of higher degree. Write this equation in standard form, then classify each polynomial according to its degree and number of terms. State the end behavior and the maximum number of turning points. Okay, so let's take a look at part A. Part A has 2 zeros. I'm going to mark my 2 zeros here. I have a 0 here at -2. So at x equals -2, there is a 0. And I have another one over here at x equals +3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the factors. Factors are what I get when I have these things set equal to 0. So to get this set equal to 0, I can add 2. So x plus 2 equals 0. That's one of my factors. And the other one, I'll subtract 3. So x minus 3 equals 0. That is my other factor. Those are my 2 factors. So in order to find the equation, I'll take my factors, x plus 2 and x minus 3, and I'll FOIL them together. So x times x is x squared. X times -3 is -3x. 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times -3 is -6. So I need to combine like terms. That will give me x squared. -3x plus 2x is -1x minus 6. Classifying it, it is a degree 2, so we call that quadratic. And it has 3 terms, so it is a trinomial. The end behavior, if I just look at the graph, I see that the left side is pointing up and the right side is pointing up. So my end behavior is up, up. And the maximum number of turning points. This one is a great one, and I really hope you are watching this video, because the maximum number of turning points is found by taking the highest power minus 1. So highest power. And I just subtract 1 from it. So in this equation, my equation is x squared. So the highest power is power 2, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So there are at most 1 turning points. ahead, as I look at B, there is no picture that goes with B. So I will do the same thing though. If x equals 2, I'm going to get that so it says equals 0. So I'll subtract 2 on both sides. So x minus 2 equals 0. That's one of my factors. And the x equals negative 7 over 3. I'm actually going to multiply both sides by 3 first. So 3x equals negative 7. And then add 7 to both sides. So 3x plus 7 equals 0. That's my other factor. My two factors are x minus 2 and 3x plus 7. So to find the equation, let's FOIL these things together. X minus 2, 3x plus 7. That is 3x squared plus 7x minus 6x minus 14. Combine like terms to get the equation. That is 3x squared. 7x minus 6x is 1x. And a minus 14. Classification, the power is 2, so it is quadratic. And there are 3 terms, so it is a trinomial. The end behavior, possibly the best way to find this end behavior is actually type that equation right into your calculator and graph it. But you will notice that they are both up. Some of you may recall that we talked about any time you have an even power, they point in the same direction. So I know that they're either both up or both down. And since the 3 is positive in front of x squared, that positive tells me that they both point up. And the maximum turning points, again, is highest power minus 1. Highest power is 2, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So there are at most 1 turning points. And C and D, I'm going to do the same kind of a thing. Part C. Now, part C tells you a couple of different things. It says that f of 0 is 0. That means this is, it has a y value of 0 when x equals 0. So the y value is 0 when x equals 0. It tells me that that is an x-intercept. So that is the same thing as saying that x is 0, the function is 0 when x is 0. So this is the same thing as just saying that x equals 0. F of negative 3 is the same thing as saying that x equals negative 3 is one of the zeros. And f of 1 is the same thing as saying that x equals 1 is one of the zeros. So if you want to change it to this format to look at it a little bit differently, go right ahead. I think this does work out a little bit easier. That means in part C, x is one factor. And if I had to get the next one equal to 0, x plus 3, I'd have to add 3 to both sides. So that is one factor. And x minus 1 is one of my factors. And now, foiling these together, I have to actually FOIL 3 things. So I'm going to have my x plus 3, and my x minus 1. And it really doesn't matter which order you go in. I'm going to do the second 2 first. I'm going to do these first. So x times x is x squared. And then I have minus 1x plus 3x. I'm going to do these together. Negative 1x plus 3x is 2x. And 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And now when I factor my next x in, you'll notice that my equation shows up. X times x squared is x cubed. X times 2x is 2x squared. And x times negative 3 is negative 3x. Classification. The power is 3, so we call that cubic. It has 3 terms, so that is a trinomial. The end behavior, again, I would probably put this into a calculator and graph it. I'd put in x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x and graph this. But you will notice, because it is a cubic, they are going to be opposite. One is up and one is down. And because it's positive, the right one has to be up. The left one has to be down. So my end behavior is down, up. Maximum turning points, highest power is 3. And when I subtract 1 away, there are at most 2 turning points for this one. So maximum turning points are 2. And for D, I have x equals 2, x equals -4, x equals 3, and x equals 0. I need to find all of the factors, so I have to get these set equal to 0. So my first one, subtract 2, x minus 2 equals 0. The second one, add 4, as x plus 4. The third one, subtract 3. And the last one, x equals 0, that one's easy. It's already set equal to 0, so that one is done. So now to find the equation, I have to FOIL all 4 of these together. So I'm going to do them in groups of 2. I'll do my x minus 2 times x plus 4. And then I'll do my x minus 3 times x. So if I FOIL my first 2 together, x times x is x squared. And again, I'm going to do the next 2 together. I have 4x and -2x. So 4x minus 2x is 2x. And -8. And the right side, that is just a distribution. X times x is x squared. And -3 times x is -3x. And now, this next step really isn't FOIL, but it's the same process. It's just going to be that distribution that's going on. So let me draw the lines here. I'll do my x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. And then x squared times -3x is -3x to the 3rd. Then I have 2x times x squared is 2x to the 3rd. And 2x times -3x is -6x squared. And lastly, I'll do the 8. So -8 times x squared is -8x squared. And -8 times -3x is positive 24x. Now I have a lot of combining of like terms here. Looks like x to the 4th is the only 4th power term. And then I have these 2 together. I have -3x cubed plus 2x cubed is -1x cubed. And these 2 are similar. -6x squared minus 8x squared is -14x squared and 24x. The classification, a degree 4 is called quartic, not quadratic, quartic. Q-U-A-R-T-I-C, quartic. It is a quartic polynomial. And it has 4 terms, so it is a quartic polynomial of 4 terms. We don't get too specific of anything. If it is a 2-term, we call it a binomial. 3-term, we call it a trinomial. And then after that, we just call it a polynomial of that many terms. 4 terms, 5 terms, 6 terms. And really, if you said it was a 4th degree polynomial of 4 terms, I would count that as well. So if you don't know quartic, you should know quadratic, you should know cubic. Those 2 you should probably know, but the rest of them, I'm not that concerned if you know them or not. Again, if I plug this into my calculator and graph it, I can see the end behavior. But as I look at it, it is degree 4, so they point in the same direction. and the first term in there is x to the fourth. It has a positive 1 in front, so my end behavior is up, up. I have 2 ups. And the maximum number of turning points is going to be the highest power 4 minus 1, or 3 is going to be your maximum number of turning points. So I hope this video helps you and gets you better prepared. If you have any questions, please let me know right before the quiz, and I'll address any of those. But good luck studying, and I'll see you in the morning.